afternoon to you once again. More on those headline stories throughout the day. But for now, the 2025 edition of the Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium has kicked off in Cape Town. It is a flagship event of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, bringing together policymakers, industry leaders, technical experts, and of course, investors. And the goal is to unlock infrastructure-led growth and to accelerate the implementation of projects on the continent. Newzroom Afrika's Nasiphi is at that event for us in Century City. And Nasiphi, it's happening in Cape Town, but of course there are implications for provinces around the country.
That's indeed correct, Michelle. Unfortunately for us, we are joined by the Gauteng Premier, Mr. Lesufi here from Gauteng, part of the symposium. We just came out of the Driving Innovation and Interconnectivity for Inclusive World. What does this mean for the Gauteng province?
It means the next battle is not going to be about water or electricity, it's about data and connectivity. And it means that the Stone Age generation, they didn't change things because they ran out of stones. They changed because there were new ideas. So this session, therefore, was giving us new ideas. That the new factories are not going to be factories about Coca-Cola or anything. They're going to be data centers, going to be about 5G. They're going to be about connectivity. So the session assisted us to know how best can we cooperate, how best can we work together with other countries, and how best can we learn from advanced countries like China. So we're quite excited to be part of that session.
This is the second symposium that the Gauteng government is attending. Looking at the previous symposium, the one that is currently underway, what are the implications or the benefits of attending such symposiums that you'll be implementing in the Gauteng province?
Because of our budget constraints, we don't have sufficient finance to build new roads, to build new hospitals, to build speed trains, to build new highways. So you have to rely on the private sector to say, you have money, borrow us money for this infrastructure, and we can pay you in 15, 20 years' time. So the reason why here is to scout for those people that have the wallet. And we've met majority of them. We've deposited 15 projects that we want the private sector to buy. I'm crossing my fingers that of the 15, at least 5, if they can be approved, so that we can revitalize Gauteng and take Gauteng to the next level. And we can revitalize Gauteng and have new infrastructure that will create jobs and create opportunities for our own. All of us will agree the infrastructure of Gauteng is aging. That's why we've got lots of potholes. That's why we've got traffic lights that are not working. So it's very important that we take it to the next level. So we are here begging those that have the wallets and that have the purse to say, don't look further, look east into Gauteng so that we can develop these cities together.
Speaking to Infrastructure South Africa today, a part of the downfalls in infrastructure, they've highlighted a lack of skills development, or rather a lack of skills. Where is the Gauteng province sitting as you're saying that you're looking at growing not only the province, but also addressing the infrastructure challenges that you have?
Fortunately, we are the beneficiaries of skills movement. Majority of people want to move to our province. They want to bring their children education to our province. They really believe we are a cosmopolitan province that they can mix with other races, with other people. So we have to take advantage of that. Even though there might be a skills gap there and there, we really believe that we stand a better chance as Gauteng if you have to compare us with other provinces that are going through difficulties of ensuring that people that are highly skilled remain in those provinces. Those that are highly skilled, they normally migrate to our province. But we still need to ensure that our schools in particular, our universities in particular, have relevant skills that can speak to the economy, because there's no need to produce skills that are not responding to the economy. So if we can tweak that, I think we'll be in a position to succeed.
I think now going back to the people of Gauteng, sitting and watching you speak in Cape Town, how does this symposium or infrastructure growth for Gauteng look like for somebody sitting at home that is waiting to see infrastructure development? How will it look like?
Just ask them to cross their fingers like I'm doing. We deposited 5 big projects so that we can eliminate load shedding. We deposited 5 big projects so that we can revitalize all the CBDs that have collapsed in Gauteng. We have deposited projects that can take waste into energy. We have deposited projects that will ensure that we've got free, better highways so that in the morning it doesn't clog the highways. We have deposited projects that can ensure that we've got better housing. We have also deposited projects that can have a new tourism in Gauteng so that we can attract more people to come to Gauteng rather than in December, everyone is leaving us. So out of those projects, we are crossing our fingers that someone with financial power will say, I'm putting my money in this project so that we can create opportunities and jobs for everyone in Gauteng.
I think we'll just rope in the CEO of the Gautrain Management Agency, Mr. Tsepo. You were also part of the panel discussion for the Driving Innovation and Interconnectivity for Inclusive World. Talk to us about how that panel discussion ties in with infrastructure when it comes to Gautrain.
So thank you for having me. The one thing you learn quite quickly is that development follows connectivity. Where there is connectivity, you will have development. Where there is connectivity, you will have infrastructure development as a whole. In essence, you have to make sure that you have not only the wherewithal in building your infrastructure, but also ensure that your digital connectivity within that infrastructure is it's the best in the world. Now, in essence, it is something that somebody said on the panel that it is the ugly stepchild that gets thought of, after everything has been done. In this case, we as Gauteng are saying we will make sure that this gets done immediately and as part of development and as part of the designs right in the beginning rather than doing it later as an afterthought.
You speak of it as an afterthought and it's something that now is going to be prioritized, but perhaps if you could just take us through what have been some of the reasons that have led to the delay in government, as you put it, the sector itself being looked at as no longer as a stepchild.
So if you think of it, I mean, there's the way that we've developed projects in the past. So the civil engineers would rock up first, and then later on you'd think about, we need lifts and escalators. So you'd call mechanical engineers. And then you'd bring in other people as you continue on, and then electronics. This is about integrated development. And then when you think about integrated development, it's about us thinking of how do you develop a digital footprint and a digital twin for every building. And when you think of a building in itself as a digital twin, it means right from the beginning you would have figured out all the services and needs of a building before you actually start construction. And that in itself is about us shifting the manner in which we think. And it's about shifting paradigms and making sure that we develop into the new world.
Developing into the new world, how much, let's talk finances now, how much will you require to do that? We're hearing the Premier of Gauteng saying that they are crossing fingers and having chats on the side with private sector to inject those funds in order for them to then meet the service delivery demands of Gauteng and the infrastructure development. How much is needed?
So, as I always answer this question, I say it's not the how much. We could be talking 100 billion rands, we could be talking 200 billion rands. It's not the how much. It is how much do we get back. And in actual fact, it has been proven, economically and scientifically that infrastructure at minimum has a multiplier of 2.6. And in some projects around the world, they're doing multipliers of 3.2. And that means for every 1 rand that you plow, you get back 2 rand 60 on the 1 rand. Now, that's a big impact on the economy. Now, when you think about it, very few sectors actually give you that level of impact. And it's not only about that impact, it's about the kind of skills that you developed. I mean, when we developed the Gautrain, we've proven that we did not only create jobs as we created the Gautrain, we've created better jobs. Because most of the jobs on the Gautrain are NQF level 4 and above. And that is it's the bit that we tend to forget about when we argue about costs. Costs are not just about, it's about whether or not the citizens impact. There's actually benefit to the greater good. And as I said to you, a multiplier of 2.6, show me projects like that can actually yield more than 160% more than what you put in.
Greater good, you say. How many jobs then? Let's speak about the jobs. People sitting at home, we know that South Africa is sitting in a very difficult position with a high unemployment rate. Speak to us on that.
So the big drive that the Premier had been pushing for is us looking at about 500,000 jobs within the entire Gauteng economy for us to do exactly that. And 500,000 jobs in infrastructure, in ICT, in a greater part, but long-term jobs are more important than the jobs that we create during but it's also about us making sure that as we create that impact, as we look forward to it, can we have a rolling pipeline? And a rolling pipeline that is more than 20, 30 years deep. It's about us not thinking about phase one of the extension of Gautrain, but thinking about the multiple phases that we're going through and how do we fund them? And how do we make sure that the one fund reinforces the other and the one fund is able to... And it's about thinking about the future. It's about sustainable jobs. And when you think about sustainable jobs, it's about inclusive jobs, and it's about creating that skill, that long-term skill that will keep our economy running.
We'll have to leave it there. That is Mr. Atsepo Khobe there, who is the CEO of Gautrain Management Agency, part of one of the panel discussions that we had just after 1:30 this afternoon. We are currently at day one. Tomorrow we can anticipate the President Cyril Ramaphosa to deliver his keynote address on day two, as we know that a number of dignitaries, including policymakers, have met under one roof in Cape Town to discuss infrastructure development throughout the African continent.